So, Wizards of the Coast today made a little announcement, and in honor thereof, I thought I'd do a little chat talking about Greyspace today on Greyhawk Grognard. So, for those who haven't heard, Wizards of the Coast today made an announcement that coming in August, they are going to be releasing a Spelljammer book for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. So, the next official campaign setting will be Spelljammer, and they're going to be releasing a monster book with it, and I'm sure there's going to be adventures and all kinds of good stuff like that. So, in honor of that, I thought I would take a quick look at Spelljammer Greyspace, which was released back in the 2nd edition era, 1992, and it basically details the solar system of the world of Greyhawk of Oerth, which is actually, in Spelljammer parlance, it is a crystal sphere. But first, before I get into the Greyspace specifically, I'd like to talk a little bit about Spelljammer in general. I wasn't a really big fan of it when it first came out. I'm still not an enormous fan of it. I don't like the idea of Spelljammer as a setting. You've got this enormous elvish empire and fleets and stuff like that, and the whole idea of the campaign is you're going from world to world to world. I don't particularly care for that concept as a setting unto itself. Where I do think that Spelljammer is very good and useful, in my opinion, is as an addition to an existing campaign. So let's say you are already in the world of Greyhawk, you've got a campaign running for a long time, you want to shake things up a little bit and send your players to another planet, another world, and you don't want to have to go through a hackneyed thing of using a gate. You can actually introduce spelljamming technology, and it's not really technology, it's magic, but you can introduce spelljamming to get them to move from one place to another and then back again, or you could have an adventure out in wild space within the crystal sphere. You could also, if you and your players wanted to just change up your campaign entirely, you could use spelljamming to move from World of Greyhawk to Forgotten Realms or something like that. So in that sense, I think it works best as an adjunct to an existing campaign rather than a campaign unto itself. And I know some people disagree and think, oh, it's a wonderful campaign setting and concept, and that's fine. I get it. It's just not for me. But in terms of Greyspace, it's a neat little book. It is... it's 96 pages long, and it details the different worlds that are in the crystal sphere of the world of Greyhawk. And it also goes on to detail a lot of the different the things that make Greyspace different from other crystal spheres. In terms of the planets, there are Orth, Rainai, Liga, the Grinder, which is kind of like an asteroid belt, Edil, Nibal, Kanatha, Ginsel, Borka, Grilla, and the Spectre. Now that includes both of Oerth's moons, which canonically in the folio and the gold box are called Luna and Selene. They just have different names in Greyspace for some reason, although it does tell you that Cool is Selene, and the other one is what's the other one? I forget which one is Luna, and also the name of the sun, Liga. I don't know if that was ever established in the gold box or anything like that, but they give it a name fine. These are the names that spelljammers call stuff by, which are going to be different than what the ground pounders call things. But each one of the worlds that they present here is an interesting, has some interesting features in it. Some of them are more interesting than others. The Grinder, for example, has a lot of small little rocky chunks, which makes it like that can be a very interesting place to go to. Luna, obviously, because it's an airless world, they have a nice little picture of that with abandoned ruins on it, and there are supposedly drow in there underground. That's a really neat idea. There's another one in here. that I'm trying to find that, as I recall, was very was very interesting. There's a water one, Kanatha. It's entirely made up of water, and there's Sahuagin and other water creatures in there. Ginsel is shaped like a crescent, so it's like a sphere that like has a chunk taken out of it. That's kind of gimmicky to me, and there doesn't seem to be, other than gravity works differently there because of this big thing. It seems kind of weird. Borka is basically just a planet with all humanoids, instead of where humanoids dominate rather than demi-humans and humans. And again, it's not very interesting from that perspective. What I personally find more interesting are the aspects of spelljamming that are on Orth itself and in the Flanaess. So, for example, it tells us that spelljamming ships will sometimes land in the Celantan River and just sail into Greyhawk, the city. And there's similar things in Iron. I think it's Iron Fist, Ironwood. What is it called? I am drawing a sudden blank. Iron Gate. Yes. And I believe Rauxes or Relmord or one of the other big cities has them too. And it gives spelljamming companies that do kind of manage the spelljamming stuff within Greyspace. There's kind of like adventuring parties for spelljamming, basically adventurers and stuff like that. I like the idea that Greyspace is a little different than most other crystal spheres. For example, the stars are apparently different because they're in the way that they're constructed. They're very hot, so you can't really approach them, and they're larger than they are in some others. There's also a breathable atmosphere throughout Greyspace on the inside of the crystal sphere, which isn't necessarily the case in other crystal spheres, where it's, in Greyspace it's warm and breathable, whereas in other spheres it might be very, very cold and not breathable, like a true vacuum and so forth. On the whole, I don't particularly care for Spelljammer itself as a thing, but used to add a little spice and a little change of pace for an existing campaign for a little while, I think it can work really, really well in that sense. So anyway, there's one world that's all undead. There's stuff like that is kind of, okay, fine. I wouldn't go so far as to say hackneyed, but it's certainly not the kind of differences and real high weirdness that I would expect to see in worlds other than Orth when it comes to Greyspace. Like I say, I think Luna is the one that has the most potential in there because it's an airless world and it's got all these underground ruins and so forth. So that I think has a lot of potential. So anyway, so 5th edition players, congratulations, you're getting a new setting. Spelljammer fans, congratulations, you're going to be getting a couple of source books, which will have at least a bunch of lore in there. So there it is, Spelljammer coming to 5th edition. Just a reminder, we still have the Kickstarter for Swords of Cthulhu running. You'll find a link in the description. It is basically an expansion of rules with new classes and new monsters and new races and magic items and all that stuff that's based on H.P. Lovecraft, and it's going to be compatible with almost any OSR game that you have. There's also in the links below, you'll find a link to my Patreon, which helps keep this free material flowing. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books and adventures and modules and all that other good stuff, and you'll also find a link to my blog, Greyhawk Grognard, where you will find all manner of free stuff. There's a whole bunch of free downloads. There's all those articles going back more than a decade, mostly about Greyhawk. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think of the news in the comments and what your experiences were in Greyspace, and I will talk to y'all later. Have a great day.